Hello, welcome. Whatever social media platform you happen to be watching us from tonight, I want to say thank you for joining us. And if you find your way here over the course of the next week or next month, welcome. This is the Baseball Blue Book and Beede Baseball podcast. And each and every Thursday, we are joined by college coaches from all levels and all divisions across college baseball. I thought tonight might be a good opportunity to kind of allow high school students, there are some college student athletes and their families. I would say conservatively over the last week and a half, I've probably spoken with well over 100 coaches from all levels, and probably 3 to 4 times that amount as far as parents and student athletes. A lot of ambiguity and uncertainty when it comes to the portal. First, some housekeeping. I want to let parents and student athletes understand for the last 2.5 years, I have been providing information, access, opinions, and I've done that via Twitter Spaces and YouTube, and obviously Instagram, and here on YouTube and Twitter. And I wanted to let parents know I am going to be making our live chats with coaches that will become Q&As part of our member only. And when I say member only, on Twitter, it will be $2.99. And on YouTube, it will be $4.99. And I want to let parents know that this is something that I am choosing and opting to do at the age of 61 to do on a full-time basis. Want to try to make it affordable, want to try to make it available. And most of all, I want to give you as parents and athletes access to insight information directly from the sources. Rather than my personal opinion, we're going to talk to coaches from all across the country. So I wanted to get that out of the way. Joining me tonight, who I happen to find to be the most engaging, honest, enthusiastic, knowledgeable college baseball coach, is the head coach at Gardner-Webb University, Jim Chester. And I thought Jimmy would be a wonderful resource for parents because he's very candid, he's very honest, and as a parent, he is the type of coach that I would feel very comfortable and confident having as a mentor in my son's life. So, Jimmy, thank you for taking the time on a Sunday during regional weekend to join us and share some thoughts and opinions.
No, thank you. I'm fired up to be here. Wish I was coaching right now, but this is the next best thing. So no, I'm excited to be here, excited to share some insight, and looking forward to it.
One of the things that I wanted parents to, and there are a lot of parents that do find their way here, Jim, after the fact over the course of the next few weeks. The transfer portal is largely mainly due in dealing with current college student athletes within the NCAA umbrella. This is not an NAIA thing. This is more of an NCAA 1, 2, and 3. It has an effect on high school athletes. And so what I wanted to do this evening was to bring some sense of calm and to allow parents to understand two things. One, the portal has been around for decades. This is not something new. There are a lot of changes that have gone on, specifically over the last 24 months, that have kind of skewed the portal to be more student athlete friendly. And I'm going to discuss that with Jim, with Coach Chester here in a second. But what I really want to allow parents to understand tonight is I really want your questions, if you are so inclined to ask, and I want to share this with Jim. The high school athlete, and we hear a lot about, the totem pole, the pecking order, and it has become a reality. And I want to start here, Jim. College coaches, for the most part, are going to want to first exhaust the ability and opportunities presented to them to try and fill roster spots with student athletes that I consider to have a resume, that have an understanding of time management and what it's like to be a student athlete at the collegiate level. And that's their first kind of attention to immediate business, as far as replacing any graduating seniors or athletes that are leaving to transfer. Could we start there? Could you begin to start there as far as college coaches take a look at who's in the portal, and then they begin to address needs to specifics to their program?
Yeah, I mean, and I think too, from there's a lot of, like I said, I think there's definitely good to the transfer portal. I think there's definitely some things that I hate to use the word negative, but there's some caution to some of it too, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. But I think for college coaches, and I mean, again, I appreciate you describing me to be candid and honest and those things, and that's what I want to do. I mean, I think it's important that people understand what's going on out there. I just, for example, let's say, we needed I'm just saying example, a right fielder or a left fielder or whatever it might be. I think as coaches, we have the pressure on us to win every year. And we have the pressure to, that we've got to put a great product on the field. And I've got a career of recruiting high school players and developing them and watching them come along and have, some rough patches as freshmen, grow as sophomores, turn into really good players as juniors, and then, all conference guys as seniors. You hug on senior day and you move on. It's kind of a thing of the past in a lot of different ways. It really has. And I think for college coaches, I think the one time, like I remember, I want to defend a little bit, like where people go, they just go to the portal. They go to the portal. Well, I think it's like a lot of things in life. I mean, we're looking for the closest to the sure thing. It's really difficult. I mean, it's really difficult to go and recruit a young man at 16, 17 years old and really know what they're going to be like at 22. I mean, it's difficult. I can go through a bunch of guys that I thought were going to turn into, just be a certain type of player and didn't. And then there was a lot where I was like, well, he might help us out, might do something. Next thing you know, he's the starting shortstop and he's all conference. There's a lot of different things that go on there. So I think when you're getting somebody that's older and you're able to get somebody with a little bit of experience, you're able to, you're able to fill that spot with more certainty than you would on the other end. And again, if you've got someone else you're competing against filling in roster spots with experience and closer to the sure thing versus running out a bunch of, 17, 18-year-olds. I mean, watching these regionals, there's a bunch of grown men running around.
Well, that's really where I want to start. So I want to get parents to understand, first and foremost, I want to be completely upfront. I have no negativity to travel baseball. I think if we look around, if we take a deeper dive, you'll start to notice that American Legion is starting to come back because keeping things local for high school student athletes while being able to work within the weight room is really an integral part now for college opportunities. So let's start there first and foremost. The biggest thing I need parents to understand, the game is older. I get a lot of questions about COVID. Yes, COVID kind of culminated and gave some extra years of eligibility, but the draft, a lot of changes at the MLB level, changes within the NCAA level with regard to being able to move laterally more than one time. Teams are older, which brings into focus two things that are making travel baseball down the totem pole. One, the postgraduate or the baseball academies. There's no hiding from the fact that whether we want to call it reclassification, we want to call it postgraduate school, they're baseball academies, they're out there. And what they're doing is they're creating what used to be termed a gap year for athletes between high school and college is now being called a postgraduate with regard to baseball. So I want parents to understand, if we were talking about hierarchy, the transfer portal, the JUCO transfers who exhausted their 2 years of eligibility at the JUCO or junior college level, the postgraduate or baseball academies, and then the high school seniors. And, Jim, I want you to explain the portal is not just about athletes being told there's no room at the end. Conversely, athletes are saying, I think I might be better. I think I might have more opportunities to be recognized, to possibly play professionally. But it's a two-way street. As much as we see athletes saying, I'm decommitting, there's also athletes that are being told there's no room at the end. And that's really what the portal is all about, to give opportunity, correct?
Yeah, that's what it is. And I mean, again, there's listen, the only people that know why they're in the portal is the player and the coach. No one else knows why that is. I mean, again, sometimes the coaches do that because of roster spots or whatever it might be. There could be a wide range of things, but there's a lot of the player, feeling like they don't have the opportunity. And I think it's a tough situation for the player because, now, I mean, it's like it used to be the piece where like you go in as a freshman, maybe you play a little, you don't play at all, and you're fighting and you're clawing and you're doing the things that you need to do to grow and fight that adversity to break a lineup and do those type of things. But there's a lot now where it's, all right, well, I'm not playing, I'm going to transfer. And listen, the liberty's there to do it. There's free will to just, you can do it. I mean, you can't blame the players. I mean, they're allowed to, and you can transfer as many times as you want now. You can go as many times as you want.
And that just got passed recently. And there's also, for parents and student athletes, and Jim, I don't know if you want to discuss this or not, the NCAA also just recently granted student athletes an extra year of eligibility if they graduated between 2019 and 2020 during that cusp of the COVID year. Theoretically, those athletes are now in their mid-20s or thereabouts. And so there are, in some cases, some athletes. But, for parents that are watching this now, the question becomes, where does this leave the high school student athlete? And I think that was the crux of why I wanted to have this discussion. The high school athlete will always be what I call the mass feeder into the college athletic world.
Right.
The thing to understand is that the sport of baseball is now being pushed to the same level of what I call visibility as the football, the basketball, and now the baseball. We have access to it as we looked at ESPN and all the streaming services, and it's great. But college baseball is also benefited by that major league, baseball changes with regard to the draft. And if you're a parent and you're paying attention, MLB Network is now doing a college tour segment on their MLB Today or MLB Network. And they're highlighting programs like LSU and Texas A&M. And that's not just by circumstance. There is going to be a thread between MLB and NCAA as far as the development of young men and their kind of course towards professional baseball. Make no mistake about it. MLB Network is not showing up on Jay Johnson's doorstep to do a tour for the, just for the sake of having content. They're doing it, to allow parents to see what college is really all about. Now, Gardner-Webb, I know, has gone way above and beyond over the last couple of years with regard to facilities, but it's kind of the norm now, right, Jim? I mean, you have to have those off-season facilities to train and develop, and that's where the high school student athlete is going to spend the majority of their time, is that strength, that skill set development, those additional, what I call quality repetitions under the supervision and guidance of a college staff.
Yeah, no, I mean, you hit a bunch of different things there. That was awesome. And, with the facilities, yeah, I mean, it's just so important. I mean, it's now, I mean, it's a grown man's game. And like I said, you've got to be physical and you've got to be older and there's a road to go down to get to that point. But, listen, Major League Baseball and minor league, affiliated baseball, it's no different than what we're doing with the transfer portal, meaning in so many
Right.
ways, like there's, you have like, just talking to a lot of scouts over the last couple of years as this thing has all shifted. And now we're down to 20 rounds. Okay. When I was in high school, I think there was north of 50 rounds, and then,
Right.
then it went to 50, and then it was at 40, and then now it's at 20. Okay, now you just look at the draft. I mean, I can just go back. I think it was 2017 or 16. I got to look it up. And I was in arguably one of the top, if not the top D2 conference in the country in Pennsylvania. And there was a good 12 guys drafted that year, like out of our league. And then there was literally 4 top 10 rounders, and I coached one of them. And last year, that league only had 1 guy drafted. I mean, it's just, so what I'm trying to say is with some of this stuff, like the LSU, like, more kids are trying to fight to get to that level. And if you're a team and you've got 20 picks, I mean, are you taking the flyer on and it's no slight like to the Division III kid, like, or are you going to take, what I mean, the guy hitting 310 at Arkansas or whatever it might be, like, because he's that level of baseball is just getting back. I mean, we watched it all weekend. I mean, it's unbelievable. The arms, the physicality, the guys, that are able to, like, the approaches, the at bats, the home run. I mean, it's unbelievable. And like, you're just going to see, like, it's closer to the sure thing. Like when you take an SEC player,
Right.
you know what I mean? And maybe you don't know exactly where the ceiling is, but like I said, when you got 20 picks and you got someone to answer to, you got to go with the closest thing to a sure bet. You know what I mean? And that's why, you see some of the decline in high school guys getting drafted in different things. And again, now high school guys got more leverage than they ever did. I mean, with NIL and like going, I mean, it's unbelievable with what's going on. So,
and I think parents need to, I get a lot of questions when you see me put my glasses on, Jimmy. I'm trying to read the screen, and
you're good.
and the thing is that parents want to kind of understand, okay, high school athletes, and so I want to go back and I want to reemphasize something I just said, and that is, if we looked at the narrative, say 10 years ago, or even let's go back to 2005 to 2016 or 17, the narrative was the high school athlete would go play travel baseball. The travel baseball would kind of put you into an exposure platform, for lack of a better term, and coaches would grade or identify players with skill sets and projectability, and they could dream on them a little bit. And now what has happened, because the game is older, and we can blame it on COVID, we can blame it on rule changes. The fact are, the game is older. The average age of Division I baseball is 22. We have a few guys that are a little older. We have a few guys that are in that 2021 window. And so the question here is, with regard to reclassification, are we doing the student athletes a disservice? I have a strong opinion on that with regard to, if we're reclassifying as a parent. Now, I'm talking to you now as a dad. My son graduated high school at 17. He was a freshman in the SEC as a recent 18-year-old. He just turned 18-year-old, and he got his teeth kicked in because the Stephen Piscotty's of the world, they were big physical men. And what we have to understand is the reality. The reality of college baseball is those student athletes, they impact the baseball. They impact it with the barrel of a bat. They impact it with their arms, their gloves. They dominate the baseball, and they're not tippy-toeing. They are not kind of fluctuating. They are dominating the sport. And Jim, I would like you to get parents to understand, when I say that, they think, well, my son hit 400 in high school. They are dominating a baseball with the barrel of a bat. So at 93 to 95, that barrel is going through a zone and impacting a baseball. When they feel the baseball, they are not running 5 steps and unleashing. They have that physicality, that arm strength. They are dominating the baseball on both sides, defensively and offensively. Can you just explain to a parent the difference between a 22-year-old and say an 18 or 19-year-old?
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. It's actually fairly simple. I mean, it's obviously the physicality and Mother Nature and the what's done in the weight room. And I think that even talking about like the bat, like right, being able to handle a 93-mile-an-hour fastball instead of it and making, being able to get and explode through it versus getting the bat blown out of your hands. I mean, there's a fine line. And then, but with it too, the physicality is the durability too. I mean, we're looking for players that can. These seasons are long. I mean, they're grinds.
Can you explain that? Because it's the fall component, and then it leads right away to what I call spring in January. But parents don't quite understand your season is essentially 11 out of 12 months. If we take the summer, the fall, and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, I mean, it's literally. I mean, you go start in the middle to end of August, and you're all the way through Thanksgiving, right? And then you're off December, and you come back the second week of January, and you're on until the end. And I mean, like you're still playing to today. You know what I mean? And longer if you've got a good club. But it's I think parents understand. Like I just think that it's a lot of times. We have visits, we do different things or whatever, and I'll get a lot like, well, Johnny's the hardest worker, and he's done this and he's done that, and I go, he's about to go through something he's never gone through.
Right.
Because he goes and he lifts every day and he goes and hits on his own or hits with somebody's or even dad, whatever. And I'm not saying that's not work and getting something in, but the next thing you know, I mean, you're getting in. It's a whole different world when you're going through with a collegiate strength coach and you're competing against 39 other men around you that some have been doing it a lot longer than you have.
And it can be intimidating for an 18 and 19-year-old to be in that gym.
No doubt, very. And then get, and then get into the locker room. You know what I mean? And just handling that piece, being around other guys that have been in it for 4 or 5, heck, 6 years sometimes, as far as things go. And it's just, and then trying to juggle that with your academic work and doing those things. I mean, listen, I tell freshmen all the time, right? And it's so funny because then we revisit it. I do a lot in the spring. I'll go like, listen, you're going to have a great experience. Like it's going to be great, but it's not going to be right away. Like this is not going to be, you're going to break down. You're going to hit a low. You're going to hit at a time where like, you're going to go, is this really worth it? You're going to go through it. And when you do, I need you to come talk to me.
And I can assure you that happens. For instance, we're talking about high school All-Americans that will be in the portal. We're talking about NCAA Division III that'll end up playing Division I. We're talking Division I that will end up playing Division III. And here's where I wanted to have this dialogue, specifically with Coach Chester, because he's been on this Division II. He knows athletes that were Division III that are now MLB players. Let's talk about education, because when we are talking about high school athletes, and then we start to talk about college baseball, we're talking primarily about education. And the baseball piece is a part of the experience. And for 95%, the number is actually higher, of college players that play college athletics, they're not going to play professionally, or at least they're not going to play to the point where they're earning a substantial living to be able to provide for their family. It's extremely challenging, trust me, when you start to take a deeper dive into minor league salaries. So let's visit something real quick here, digress real quick. When you ask a student athlete to reclassify, you must identify the purpose. If the purpose is purely athletic driven and you think you're giving your student athlete a step up or a step ahead, that is not accurate, because the average age, as we just talked about, is 22. So even if you're a 19-year-old and you do a post-grad year and you go to college at 20, it's still going to be a level of difficulty. Here is the main topic. From the ages of 16 to 20, ask yourself, what are you as a family, or what are you as a student athlete truly doing with those 4 years? How are you preparing to be a college student athlete? Running around trying to play a lot of games. I'm not criticizing travel baseball. I'm trying to say where are you putting time forth for your studies, for your nutrition, for your sleep, for your strength training, for your preparation with regard to skill set repetitions? Those things are what these baseball academies or baseball postgraduate schools that are popping up everywhere, the IMG model, those types of things. That's what they're trying to get parents to understand. Come to our facilities. We have a trainer. We have all of this. That's what is the debate at the end of the hook, so to speak.
Yeah, they're going to speed it up. They're selling that they're going to speed up the development, speed up the process, and
How can you?
speed you up to where it's going on.
Right. Is that possible in your opinion? Do you think it's possible to speed up development?
Development? I think it's tough, man. I just think it's like, listen, at the end of the day, it all comes down to the player.
Right.
Okay? And I say this with some conviction, and I say this with some passion when I tell you this, because this is the new thing. Okay. I want player development. I want to be developed. Right. Like that's the thing. Okay. And again, whether you're 16 through 20, and honestly, when we'll hear this isn't just Gardner Webb. This is going on. This is a national thing that goes on. Is the young men will say, I want to be developed, or I'm not getting developed, or whatever it might be. Parents and players that are watching this, okay, listen to me. Development is a two-way street. Okay.
Bingo.
It is a two-way street. And I don't think sometimes it's understood that, I know that there's a lot of probably players and parents watching this where their son has a hitting coach, right? A pitching coach, a trainer, an infield coach, okay? Like multiple people that are helping him do what he needs to do. The NCAA has done a nice job here letting us have another assistant, you know what I mean, as far as a paid assistant. Listen, most places don't even have that. It's still the volunteer. Let's be honest. But and staffs have been able to be increased to do some of these type of things and develop and that type of stuff. But if the player doesn't want to be developed or doesn't have, what I call, that internal motivation to want to work and be blue collar on a daily basis, they're not going to develop. And listen, coaches, we have a pitching coach, right? He can't give 22 individual lessons every single day. It's impossible with what we have to do with our jobs. It's impossible. So there's got to be it just can't be one-way street that the coach didn't develop me.
Right.
There has to be some accountability on why you didn't develop.
Right.
And
I think what we've lost sight of, it used to be when I say this, the high school student athlete, pick any sport, football, basketball, what have you. There would be a conditioning component and there would be a skill set component. And now, in the way the world works today, what we're looking for is someone with all the answers. And I get asked this quite a bit. Hey, Walt, can you help me? I may have some answers, but when I truly need to get answers for parents with specific questions, I reach out to Jim Chester. I reach out to Tim Corbin. I reach out to John Savage. I reach out to these coaches because they're going to give me the actual answer that I can, forward to a parent. And so what I want parents to understand is these college coaches, they're no different than major league, minor league managers. They have to put a product. They have to make sure that those athletes that are under their care are fully prepared to compete and represent their institution. The bottom line is Coach Chester, it's a business. He is compensated by a university to put a quality team skill set, character, so that they are a great representation of a college or a university and not just a baseball player. And so what I want parents to understand, there are going to be changes. We talk about the portal. So tomorrow or June 3rd, tomorrow and August 1st, parents, what's the difference? Okay. Tomorrow, college athletes are that have entered the portal officially through their athletic department. And I would love for you, Jim, to take us from an exit meeting to the actual process. And those athletes, once they are granted, I want parents to understand one thing. It is not all popcorn and lollipops and everybody getting a bouquet of flowers. And we see on Twitter, thank you for my 2 years at this university, but I'm decommitting, I'm leaving, and I'm going here. And we all think of greener pastures and, Mary Poppins and everybody floating into a brand new school and being a superstar. The realities are, not all athletes go from D1 to D1. Not all athletes actually find a home. That's something. But Jim, if you could take parents through the exit meeting, the reality of the exit meeting, and then that athlete saying either, I'd like to transfer, or maybe you saying, you know what, I don't foresee a future here for you that you may want to consider going into the portal. However you would like to discuss that topic.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for putting me in the same sentence as Tim Corbin and John Savage.
Hey, listen, I know you're a quality coach. I mean, I'm not the only one either. So that's why I wanted to have you on.
That's flattering. So thank you. I appreciate it. No, listen, I think everybody handles the exit meetings differently. You know what I mean? I think they go differently too, based off how your seasons are. It's tough. I know the one thing for me that I try to always do is, I've got a lot of data with me, and I'm just brutally honest with the players. And meaning I just tell them the truth.
Right.
Just tell them the truth. Listen, this is what we think. This is what we see. And these are your numbers. And this is what warrants whatever it is. I mean, and that's not just bad. I mean, we have guys where we increase scholarship. We have guys where, you know what I mean, that, get increased because of their performance, all kinds of different things. But that's kind of the way it works. And you know what? Listen. This portal, like in my eyes, right? Like, I mean, there's 3 things that happen with it. Okay. I think this is really important to know. Okay. A lot of guys go into the portal, and I don't know I've seen some statistics. I don't know how true they are or not, but they go in and they never play again.
Bingo.
They never play again. And I'm going to tell you a quick story. And again, when I say this with all due respect. And it's coming from somebody who I was a Division III baseball player. I was one, and I'm proud of it, so proud of it. And then I coached at the level for 7 years. Okay, 7 of the best years of my life. I had a young man email me about 2 weeks ago from a Division III school. Okay, and I'm very familiar with the landscape. And there's really, really good baseball, really good players. So, I mean, we follow up on everything, right? And I looked it up. He was a sophomore at the school. Okay, and he hit sub 250 and just didn't quite have some numbers, made some few starts, didn't play every game, whatever. Just he's part of going through the process. And I looked at it and I thought about it for a second, and I saw a little bit of myself. I mean, that's kind of what I was like as a sophomore, you know what I mean? And then, moved on, played more and got better and did some things as I got in my career. I emailed the young man back and I said, with all due respect, I was like, if I were you, I'd stay where you're at, work really hard this summer, and go back to fight to play for every single day and try to hit north of 300 and make all conference. So there's a good chance like a young man like that might not, I'm not saying for sure, but like there's a chance that he doesn't play.
So what I want to ask you real quick, because you touched on this before we started tonight, and I just saw a question come across. I don't want to call it tampering, but are you constantly recruiting your players year in and year out? If Gardner Webb, Friday starter, the portal begins long before June 3rd. Like, that's really the point I think parents don't understand. Can you kind of get parents to understand, like, this whole thing begins way before June 3rd?
Yeah, and do we re-recruit? Yeah, but I mean, I'm also too I'm not sitting here begging anybody to be here either. I'm just not, and we're not a junior college either. Like our freshmen, I mean, I'm very stern and upfront with them beginning. Like, you're here to play 4 years. I mean, this is why you're here. You committed here. We're not trying to move you on to somewhere else or do whatever. And we've had guys leave here, and some hasn't worked out so well, and a couple it has, and. There's probably more of the less than there is the more, and it's disappointing. But I mentioned number one, what I was saying happens. Number two is young men, when they go into the portal, like they're supposed to be looking for situations that are going to allow them to get on the field more. I mean, that's usually the driving factor, like most of the times, right? Right. And you see a lot of guys that go 1 year and then they kind of just go to the same situation. I see it happen all the time. We have it happen all the time where we're looking at guys that are like maybe they're a Power 5 guy or they're a high major guy or whatever, and they transfer to the same level, and we're like, and it's like, and they get into the same situations that they were in previously that allowed them that made them get into the portal, you know? And then the third thing is, it works out. You do go to another place and it works out. But I'm telling you, 1 and 2 happen way more than 3. There's no doubt in my mind. There's way more guys that end up not playing, or they go one more place and they're doing the same thing again.
Right.
And it's not a good marriage, and it's just kind of like, and everything gets flooded, and the next cycle happens, and sometimes they end up being at situation number 1.
Right.
After doing number 2 first, so.
And I want parents to understand we're here to answer questions. That's why we're doing this live. So when somebody just asked me if we could ask questions, the answer to that is yes. I have another parent. So I want to make sure there is nobody trying to scare anybody. I'm just trying to bring a sense of reality. And the number one thing to understand is this: college athletics are hard. There is no such thing as an easy ramp or runway to success. They are challenging mentally, physically. You are multitasking. You essentially have 3 full-time jobs: your athletics, your academics, and sleep. And those orders can get mixed around. So what I always want to try to get parents to understand is nobody's to blame. And there's no root or cause. Like there is no evil, darkness, avoid. The thing is I see parents, they'll ask me, is this recruiting service and that recruiting services now, they don't really carry the same weight because coaches now, first, what I would like you to explain on this topic. Do you use Synergy?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Okay, so I want parents to understand there are no what I call players that just appear. College coaches, you give them a name and they'll say, hey, I watched so-and-so's video on Synergy the other day. Can you explain what Synergy is and how you as a coaching staff use it?
Yeah, I mean, Synergy is a universal video system that people use in a lot of different ways. And some people, when at their place, use Synergy in a much better way than other places, meaning like there's more camera angles, there's more, the video's clear, it's more descriptive, the velocities are right, like all kinds of different things as far as it goes. And some people intentionally don't do some of that right, so you can't see exactly what's going on.
Right.
But that's a time for another Zoom or another conversation.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Synergy, I mean, True Media is a huge one. I mean, we use True Media a lot. So you can able to, like, you just can see what you're getting into. You know what I mean? And like, listen, the days of, 20 years ago, used to get 2 or 3 names and I'd go watch them play. You figure out if they were any good, I mean? Like that's how you did it.
But now you just press a button and there he is.
No, and the guys that worked the hardest 20 years ago, I mean, like they were, I was riding around, sleeping in my car. I could tell you some craziness. You know what I mean?
I did it.
Yeah, 100%. Like that don't go on anymore. You know what I mean? Like there's none of that. I mean, I still like some of that. I mean, I still have the juice to do some of those things, but it's not a thing anymore. I mean, you have access to all these video tools and different things. But yeah, Synergy's huge. And I mean, but it's I mean, because of the access to what you can do, I mean, in the way you can sort things, do you know what I mean? You can, if you're looking for somebody that you want to see if, can they handle the back? Can they bunt? I mean, you can go right in and filter every bunt attempt that they had. I mean, this is within seconds.
Right.
It's within seconds, And
I don't think parents really understand the access that college baseball, professional baseball has. They can go find, so you bring up a name, Tyler Beede. They can pop a button, every breaking ball, every changeup, every bases loaded, every 2 out and on second, everything. And so parents, you need to understand that access to backup. So you can't just say my son is, or here's some video of my son. They're going to go find that video. So a couple of questions. One, Jim,
Yeah.
do you know, let's go through this. So kind of get everybody's question in. Do you foresee a time within the Division I landscape where JV baseball programs will begin to enter the scene at the Division I or Division II levels?
I mean, they're all over the Division II level. I mean, they're everywhere. You know, and I can't really elaborate on Division I. I can't get in depth there.
I do believe, my opinion, there will be within this new, what I'm going to kind of quantify as the professional division. I don't know what we're going to call the P5, P4, whatever that becomes. I do believe that that division of athletics will have a scout team, a JV team, whatever we want to call it. But I believe that's coming. I believe we'll have scouting staffs. I believe we'll have athletic general managers that will be working for the athletic director. So those changes are coming.
I can see that. My thing to that too is, like, I was just having a conversation the other day with it, and it's going to be all great, but like, I mean, at some time there, like, there's going to be players that don't play again. You know what I mean? They're not going to be on rosters, and I mean, if you're on the scout team of like LSU, you know what I mean? Like, don't you still want to play? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, at some point you got to love. I mean, love to play baseball. I mean, that's what this is supposed to be at the end of the day, is that you love to play. You'd hope at some point, like, some of that kind of resonates, and it's okay. I mean, we all have that time where we're told, like,
Right.
I'm not going to be a pro. You know what I mean? And I just want to go play ball. You know?
Right. And I think that's what Jim just said there. I just want to go play ball. And I want to get parents and athletes to understand the icing on the proverbial cake. You know, we have this desire to kind of rush to our destination, and we want to fly through our journey at warp speed. And then when we get to the end of that thing, we go, oh man, I wish I could do that over again. Or if I only could do that now, knowing what I know now, I would do this. And so what I want to let parents understand is college athletics, as Jim alluded to. I was a 7-year head coach at Division III baseball, and we were a low-end Division III program. In fact, the school is no longer in existence, which is a topic I'm going to get to in a second. But my point is, I had 6 players that ended up playing professional baseball, and none of them ever came to me and said, hey, I can't wait to play Division III. Like, I've been dreaming my whole life. You know, you go and recruit, and it's all about the ability and the opportunity to participate at a collegiate level. And so that needs to be understood. Like, playing college baseball, one could make an argument that any Division III team would be able to compete with a higher level. They would lack depth of whether it be bats or arms and things like that. And
I've coached them.
Right. And so, Jim, get parents to understand, and more importantly, athletes to understand, if we talk about the portal, the focus should be, let me find some place where I can go play. Let me find some place where baseball can be a part of my experience. And I'm not trying to be Pollyanna and the sun is always shining on the side of the mountain. The reality tells us, as Jim alluded to a little bit earlier in our conversation, not all athletes that enter the portal end up ever playing again. So if our expectation in high school is to find a college or university that allows our student athlete to the opportunity to participate, to get a great education, to be in a campus environment that is going to allow them to become a great adult, you know, a member of society, a future parent, a future spouse, a future member of the business world, etc., they'll learn to compete. They'll learn conflict resolution. They'll learn how to overcome adversity or challenges that, you know, are in our everyday life. That's really what we're trying to get across. The portal, yes, there are people that go from 3 to Division I. There are athletes that go from Division I to Division III. They should all be trying to find a dance partner. It's not like I need to validate my ability Gardner Webb could roll into UNC and Scotty Forbes could run into a buzzsaw. Webb could just throw two dudes out there on Friday night and Saturday, or Tuesday and Thursday, and there's nothing that UNC can do. It doesn't matter whether Gardner Webb is in conference, out of conference. Division I, as we're watching in the regionals, Evansville, Southeast Missouri. I mean, we're seeing teams that people don't roll off the top of their tongues.
Oh, yeah.
Conquering, Goliath. But, baseball is about an experience. It's about that time in your life. Can you because you embody that, right? A Division III player, a Division II coach, Division I coach. I mean, you've been all around this. Talk about that as a student athlete. It's an integral part of the development of becoming a young man.
Yeah, you know what? And we could probably talk for a long time on this too, because it's kind of honestly been a lot. It's kind of lost, to be honest. In my opinion, I think it's been lost, and I think the biggest thing's got to do with, and this is what I try to share a lot of times with parents and players and different things that I talk to. Like, I think a lot of times kids pick a school, okay, for the Instagram post. And what your stance is, like, locally in society, meaning, like, we're so hung up on Division I, so hung up on playing Division I.
That's 12,000 athletes at a 40-man roster at approximately 300 schools. And so I don't think parents understand the finite number that you're trying to 12,000, and that's a 40-man roster. And if we talk about the 27-man travel, approximately 9,000, half of which are pitchers. So that means there are 4,500 student athletes at Division I level that are on an active travel roster. That's all 50 states and Canada. Think about how small that number is. It's small. It's not realistic.
And there's decisions are made based off of levels and what to do, and like, so you can put that. I tell them all the time, I'm like, remember, when you put that post up and you go and you have that event at your school and you got the balloons, the cake, and all that, it's quick and it goes away real quick. And, I'll meet our freshmen come here in a few weeks. They do come in for summer session too. And that'll be one of the first things I tell them. I go, remember signing day? Remember the Instagram post? You remember all the likes and everyone was telling you? It's all over.
Right.
And now it gets real. I said, now it gets real.
It's reality. And so here's some questions for Gardner Webb. Do you allow walk-ons?
Oh, you have to. I mean, it's a lifeblood of what we do. I mean, like, we have 40 we only have, you're allowed 32 on scholarship. I don't know many places that with the 25% rule that can get 32 on scholarship. I mean, it's a difficult thing to do. And so, no, yeah, we've got a bunch of walk-ons. We've got a bunch of them. And some of them have turned into some of our best players because of the development piece. And you just, the Mother Nature and whatever, how it worked. And, but to touch real quick on what you said before about, like, I tell every young man that we meet, and I've said the same thing since I've been at the Division III level to Division I. Like, you decide on a school, right? Okay. You got to do three things. Okay. Number one, okay, is it the right, like, fit socially? Meaning, like, if you want a really big school and you want 50,000 students and you want, a big party scene, Gardner Webb in Boiling Springs, North Carolina is probably not a good fit for you. It's not a fit, okay? But if you're looking for a private school with an outstanding Christian culture and in a small town with that type of feel, like, yeah, we're a really good fit. So you've got to really figure out where you want to go to school. Like, what type of school do you want, right? So then you got that, you've got that filter, okay? Then you need to pick the top two academic programs that you want to study. Not one. You got to pick two things that really interest you. And, like, as far as it goes, like, again, for us, if you want to be an engineer, this isn't a good place to go. We don't have it. So it's not a good place to go to school. It's not going to be a good marriage as far as it goes. And then the third part's got to be the baseball. Okay. Because I always feel like if we get a kid on campus, like we feel really good about converting them based off our beautiful campus, our facilities, whatever it might be. But also too, like, listen, we have camp I love camp. I love it. I love meeting new players. The kids are in high school. I love meeting their parents. I love it, and I love talking about this stuff because, again, I don't know how good of a coach I am, but like I do have a feel for the levels and the recruiting, and I have experience doing all this. So I like to help families. I like to talk to them, and I like to, and again, I tell them not every kid can play here. It's just there's a piece to some of this, and you can have a great experience at every single level, and like. Listen, I know we're watching these games. I mean, you see some of the crowds and the popularity in some of these places that are going on this weekend. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, see what's going on at Clemson and some of those places. And I get it. Like, yours truly wanted to play at Clemson or LSU, whatever it might be. But, it's hard. And like, if you go to one of their camps, and if they're not tracking you down in the parking lot after the camp, probably can't play there.
Right.
There's only one. Listen, I always say this to everybody. There was only one Rudy story. There was only one. I made one movie. So, like, it's okay. I mean, there's only one of them. So,
right.
We got too many trying to beat, I think, sometimes. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's okay to go to a really good academic D3 that's got a need for your position. And, like, I tell kids this all the time because it makes me mad because I live this. I still live it. Trust me. I still live it. But so a coach calls you and like has interest in you, like it's a really big deal because they believe in you and you do something on a baseball field that they feel can help them win a baseball game. So like you should listen to them.
See, I really want to focus on that sentence. When a coach is interested in a player, it is because that coach feels that student athlete can help a team win games. It could be a pitcher, as a hitter, as a defender. So in other words, a coach is not just saying, I like this young man, I'm going to bring him on. He sees a role. He sees an opportunity for that athlete to help and benefit the other student athletes on that team so that they can win more baseball games. And that is the reality of college athletics, whether it's a junior college, and we're getting inundated with questions pertaining to this topic. So I really want to cover that.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So here's what I want parents to understand. I have a question here in reference to IMG. And IMG, for those that may not know, they're the originator, in my opinion, of what I call the academy, the athletic academy, that the focus was more athletic centric and academics kind of still in the mix, but not really the focus. The primary focus was the development of the athlete, whether it was golf, tennis, basketball, football, and in this case, baseball. IMG has over 7 varsity teams. And so when you say I graduated from IMG Academy, does that benefit because your focus is more, athletic centric in the development? To some degree, yes, if there is also an elite skill set going into a school like that. But those schools do not wave a magic wand. Those schools and those academies, I see it in North Carolina, I see it in Virginia, I see it in Pennsylvania. Heck, we're getting them in New England now, where all of these academies, they're classifying themselves as postgraduate schools, postgraduate academies. They're there for one particular purpose, and that purpose is to give your student athlete an extra year of physical and mental maturation. And what they choose to do with that extra year is entirely up to them. So in other words, I want parents to understand these academies, they're probably all staffed by quality baseball people, or that's the hope. They're staffed by people within the the strength training, area. But understand this, by simply going there and putting the uniform on, that's not going to turn your student athlete into a college baseball player.
No.
And so I want parents to understand that I like the postgraduate academies that are academic centric and they provide a wonderful athletic opportunity, because that's much more of a model that they're going to have in college. Because if you think you're only going to donate a few hours to your academics when you get to college, it's not really the case. You're there to get a degree from an accredited university. So understanding time management, That's the integral part. When it comes to reclassifying, don't do it for just athletics. Do it for the development, if you're going to do it, as a student athlete in its entirety. The next thing I want to ask
And that
you
was
is,
the academic piece that too. I mean, listen, sometimes you just like you said, you need another year of whatever it might be as far as it goes. And like I said, if you're a solid baseball player, and I'm taking this the wrong way, and you're 140 pounds, you might need another year.
well, talk about that a little bit, because I want parents to also understand when we talk about men, we talk about that word physicality. The number one thing I want parents to understand is, if your son is 6'1" and 145 or 155 pounds and he's 15 or 16, guess what? That's normal.
No
But here's
doubt.
right. Here's the thing. Mother Nature, or just year in and year out growth, by the time they're 21 or 22, the man shoulders, the man facial hair, the man physical, it begins to show itself naturally. But if you're going to play a college sport, you need to understand that the strength component is an integral part. And it's not something you can do 1 day a week, 2 days a week. It's part of your time management skills. And so, that's why junior college has become so prevalent, because it gives you the opportunity to go there and get 2 years older, 2 years stronger. And
Yeah.
that you show up on a college campus or 4-year school after doing a JUCO year or JUCO, 2 years of JUCO, you are in fact a man. You're 20 to 21 years of age. And how does that work at Gardner Webb? Do you take or have a lot of JUCO transfers or JUCO athletes that come to Gardner Webb?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's public knowledge. You can look at our roster. I mean, I'm a firm believer we've got to be 50-50 transfer and high school players. I mean, I think it's really important that, and you'll see in our lineup, it's a lot of times it's going to be 5-4 or 4-5, like as far as high school guys are with us, and transfer guys as far as it goes. So, but then, it used to be transfer was just used to be the junior college transfer. That's all it used to be. And now, I mean, it's changed immensely. I mean, you've got the 4-year transfer, you've got the junior college transfer, you've got the grad transfer, which we do the grad transfer. I mean, we have a niche for it, and it's something we can do. Not a lot of places can get them, and we can. So I don't know. He's 23, and I mean, it's another one of those pieces, and it's a plug and play thing. When you have an immediate need here in June, it's very advantageous to do that.
Talk about the high wire you have to walk, because we talk portal, but we have June 3rd. Then we have after the draft. I mean, we have that time period after the draft.
Yeah.
And then we have the fall, so talk about this high wire act of making sure that your program is properly represented with all of these different dates that you have to deal with.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, listen, I'm getting on a plane tomorrow, and I'm headed to a region of the country, and I have somewhere to be on Tuesday. And then I have my staff, based off of what goes into that portal the next couple of days, telling me where I'm going Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
And that's because you're going where? You're going to college, summer, collegiate leagues, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I want to talk on that. So parents need to understand. I have a question that came through here, and I want parents to understand this is no slight to travel baseball. But a question here is, should high school athletes continue to do showcases? I'm giving you my personal opinion, and then I'm going to have Jim kind of share his thought. My personal opinion is no, emphatic no, because the showcases are not going to be attended as they used to be by college coaches. Because all of those college coaches are now at college summer leagues, because they're there to see the athletes that are in the portal, and they're there to get an idea of who they are physically and how they interact with their teammates. College camps, however, have now replaced the old showcase environment, because now college coaches can talk freely. It's almost like they can present their university or campus to the younger athletes. They can kind of see how athletes interact with teammates and coaches. So the question, are high school showcase is still a great event? My opinion is no. My opinion is, and I would like Jim for you to explain, a lot of college recruiting now begins with scouting college summer baseball leagues. Is that correct?
Yeah, it does now. And I want to make sure I say too, like I'm going to do this. Like, you know what I mean? I'm excited. I'm going to be running around for about 8 or 9 days. But with that, okay, we have 2 high school visits this week that are seniors in high school that are recently decommitted from Power Fives because those places they're anticipating somebody not getting drafted / might have found somebody in the portal in the last month. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of stuff that goes on. So you're still recruiting some high school guys as far as it goes. So yeah, so you know, I still go by the old adage, you know what I mean? Like where like I was telling you about running around in the car and watching guys playing some different things from the high school players. Like, you know, I mean, there's still those people that know college coaches and they have relationships with coaches and different things. And, you know, I've just been blessed to do this long enough where, you know, if I need a third baseman and if I need somebody like that and I'm looking and I've got 2 contacts in Miami, I just ask those guys, like, I need a third, and they tell me the 5 best guys to go to, you know what I mean? Instead of being at a showcase for 8 hours. That world's kind of died out. You know what I mean? I know they put some of that stuff with like events and different things. And listen, there's still some really good events you got to get to and do what you need to do.
Yep.
But if you kind of take the process of what I explained earlier about finding what is the right, like socially, this place you want to go to school, what is you do the research academically, and then you have a kind of an idea of the level that maybe you would know, take a shot at one of the big schools. But if they don't come knocking, then maybe you got to come down a little bit and keep coming, and it'll tell yourself. And that's why the college camps have become really, really popular. And look, for us, it's great because, like, you know, I use this, you know, now we're allowed another guy on the road, right? That's what this other, you know, now we're allowed 4 guys on the road. But, like,
Right.
if I've got 70 kids at camp, which is not a big camp, you know what I mean? Like, in some ways, and they all handed us their summer schedule, there's no way the 4 of us could cover that. You know what I mean? It's impossible. So we've got to streamline things the best that we can, you know, I mean, as far as it goes. So it's tough for me because, like, I can sit here and say a lot of different things, and like I give an idea, like, hey, don't, you know, you got to go. You're like, hey, listen, there's certain events, and the question usually comes back is, oh, coach, well, what are the events? I just don't like answering that because, you know what I mean. There is a lot of good things. There's good things out there that maybe I don't even know about. You know what I mean? That are not specific to me, Gardner Webb, or recruiting ties. You know what I mean? Like, there's probably a great event in Wyoming. I just don't recruit there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a niche for Gardner Webb.
Right. And the thing that I want parents to understand, because they just got a text, I'm just sharing my personal thoughts, and I'm not asking Coach Chester to validate. What I want to get parents to understand is here are 3 hard factual realities of today's world. 1, most college coaching staffs over the next 3 to say 5 weeks will be attending college summer collegiate
100%.
games. That's 1. 2, the reality is there are student athletes that have signed an LOI that have committed to colleges at all levels. I'm not picking on Division I. I'm not picking on Power 5. At all levels, where something happens, it could be a coaching staff change. It could be players didn't leave to go to the draft, didn't sign. Somebody got into the portal they didn't expect. There are high school athletes that will be asked not to show up or to not be, you know, they'll be told they won't be part of the team. They're welcome to go to school. That happens. Is it, you know, it's not a regular occurrence, but it does happen. And here's the third thing. The number one thing to take into account is if we look at the Major League Draft moving from the first week in June to the All-Star break and the effect that has had on college recruiting, I need parents to understand this is not a personal vendetta or attack on the high school athlete. It's just the shift that has occurred. And so those time parameters now, college coaches use June 3rd through the Major League Draft. Who's coming in, who's staying, who looks good, who can we get on campus? They figure that out. Now, post Major League All-Star game, we have events such as PBR Futures, Area Code Underclass, Area Code East Coast Pro. Those types of events that generally get or attract the top high school athletes in the country. The college coaches then gravitate to those events, and then they have their camps, the summer camps, and in the fall, and in some cases, the winter. That's generally how the recruiting process at the collegiate level occurs. And so when parents are looking to spend their time and their money, recruiting services do not have a magic wand. They cannot pick up a phone and call Jim Chester and say, I need you to take this guy. Do me a solid, Jim, and take this guy. Those days are basically gone. The other thing, it is not a negative for your son to participate in NAIA baseball, in junior college baseball, NCAA Division III, or NCAA Division II. Don't think you're validating your son's existence by going to a Power 4 or 5 school or Division I school and sitting. When you think, well, maybe if I had looked at this school, here are some stats that I think parents need to understand. And College Baseball Insights, they put all this information out. The average high school student athlete will attend a college within 3 to 4 hours from their home. And that's largely due in part so parents can be a part of the process. The next thing to understand, 2% of high school baseball players in all 50 states in Canada will play Division I baseball. 2% of high school athletes will play Division I baseball. So if we know all of these statistics, we need to begin to educate parents to say, hey, look, this young man went from Division III, and you tell a great story about an Oakland A's closer today who was a Division III player. There are a lot of success stories by going to Division III. If I look at Endicott, if I look at Salve Regina, which is schools in my backyard, they have athletes that are playing at Boston College and UConn, which is winning the regional last time I looked. So we have that transition now where college coaches will say to a Division III coach, hey, your guy's in the portal. Can he help us? He's a left-hand pitcher. I'm looking at his numbers. That does happen, correct, Jim?
Oh, yeah, 100%. It happens a ton. I mean, you mentioned, I know UConn does a great job. I mean, they get a lot of different guys. And like I said, we were one of the first ones, we took a D3 grad transfer back in 21 before it became as common as it did. And I mean, really worked out for us. I mean, they say he's probably going to be an MLB All-Star this year, Mason Miller. So, I mean, there's a lot of that goes on, you know what I mean? Like I said, but, it's tough too. Like, I was a D2 and D3 coach, like I talked about before. And it's like, talking like guys can go there and then move to Division I or whatever it might be. That's tough. You know what I mean? Like because those coaches work really hard at what they do. You know what I mean? And they're trying to build rosters and build teams, and it's, it gets hard. You know what I mean?
Well, what I want parents to understand here as we wrap up, because Jim has its recruiting to do, and he's been kind enough to donate his time, and I don't want to bore people. I'm not here to and I think Jim would say something similar. Not here to lecture parents, not here to try to tell you beware of the boogeyman here or this guy over here. Everything is in today's world, from an economic perspective, everything is out there to be sold, whether it's equipment or lessons or camps. Can they benefit a student athlete? Absolutely. But if we're looking for them to create a magic wand or create magic with regard to the ability and the level that your son or student athlete aspires to play at, it just doesn't happen. I have a son, he got a 2-year degree from a junior college, LSU Eunice, and Jeff Willis and Alan Ordain do a tremendous job. They are national champions, Division II JUCO. And so he had a great experience in Eunice, Louisiana, and then went to LSU Alexandria, which is an NAIA school, and got a 4-year degree. So my point to you is, I want to provide access to coaches like Jim Chester. I want to have parents that understand you have to have a reality moment with your son. Do student athletes decommit? Yes. Do schools ask student athletes to decommit or go in a different direction? Yes. Are exit meetings handled in a business-like manner, as somebody asked me? Yes, they are. It is a two-way street for coaches and athletes. Sometimes coaches will say, are you planning on coming back? And they think they're going to get a yes, when in reality they get a no. So this is not just to paint a canvas with a broad brush. I want parents to understand is we're going to have these types of conversations with academic advisors, with financial aid offices, with admissions offices, with SAT and ACT counselors. We're going to really begin to broaden and bring professional scouts. I have 3 professional scouts that are going to join us and talk about how they evaluate players. This is what I want parents to understand. This topic, constantly changing, constantly evolving, and coaches have to, Jim, maybe end on this note. You're always getting these changes. You have to adapt or die. You have to adapt or fold. I mean, you have to look at the changes. You can voice your opinion, but at the end of the day, Jim Chester is not writing these rules and regulations. This is
you got to adapt. And I've said it all the time. I tell our coaches, if you want to complain about this, complain about that, you can go ahead and do it. But like, you got to but then you got to go and you got to you can sit here and complain about it, or you can go and, you know what I mean? Change with the times and work and grow and do whatever you got to do. It is what it is. Just, it is what it is. And the ones that have complained, listen, I watched this evolution when travel ball started. Everyone started complaining about it. Well, those guys ended up getting out, you know what I mean? And then showcases start, you know what I mean? Guys are like, I'm not doing that. I'm not, you know what I mean? Then get out of that. Social media, I'm not messing with that. Well, if you don't embrace all those things and keep moving along, like, there's no, you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, the reality is we have to learn what the rules are, what the changes are, and then we have to swim in that pool. And I know that you know about like the ABCA meetings in Omaha, and that's where coaches get to discuss the rule changes. What I want parents to understand is, and I'm just going to end this with some rapid fire answers. Decommitting, it happens. Athletes decommit all the time. It's your life as a student athlete. You have the ability to control your life. Just understand there is no easy path, regardless of whether you think it gets easier by going down a level. The path is going to be filled with challenges, hurdles, moments of testing your resolve and your desire to truly be a college student athlete. Decommitting and coaches asking you to decommit are part of the process. There's always going to be athletes that may, what I call being ranked or thought of, evaluated, that might be higher coming out of high school, and then the lower evaluated high school, or ranked, I guess we're going to call it, surpasses. Is it a matter of skill, or is it a matter of resolve and resiliency? And so I think that's a big part of this. The other thing that I want parents to understand is this. Always do not fear, do not allow yourself to be put into a kind of this channel of fear, because when there's uncertainty, parents begin to, am I missing out? Is my student athlete missing out? Is there a place where my student athlete needs to be? The answer to that question is you need to have a plan. And always remember, it is better to choose than chase. And I will always tell parents, if you take a deep breath and you step back and you recognize, what are my student athletes' skill sets? What are his strengths? What are his weaknesses, academically, athletically, socially, etc.? And you begin to look at the college experience in a collective whole, your 4, 5, or 6 years of school will be a lot better. And so I really want to, and I think, for every parent that feels, when we look on social media, I am happy and blessed to announce that I am going to an NCAA Division I. Okay, I get that, but parents need to understand Division I tag title doesn't mean you're going to be thought of any better than a NCAA Division II player from University of Tampa or Barry University or St. Leo's or IUP with Steve Klein in Pennsylvania, who's going to the Division II World Series. Understand your division or your level of play does not determine your skill as a player. What determines your skill as a player is your ability to look into the mirror and say, did I get better today? Am I better today than I was yesterday? What do I need to do to get better? And what are my weaknesses? And if I look at that and I do that every day, my skill will definitely get better. Jimmy, I want to say thank you I really appreciate it. I asked you to be here for an hour and we're going on a little bit longer. Parents, I want to say thank you. Expect these types of podcasts. I can't possibly ask Coach Chester to join us every week, but expect these type of podcasts probably more frequently than they happened in the past. My hope is to make sure, to me, for Twitter, $2.99 or YouTube, $4.99, to have access to coaches like Coach Chester, Coach Serrano, Coach Corbin, pick a coach, Coach Willis at LSU Eunice, I think provides parents peace of mind and student athletes a clearer understanding of the pathway to enjoying their college experience. So if you have any questions after today, please put them in the comments. I'm begging you, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That is free. Just hit the subscribe button. It's free. And just hit the notifications bell and interact with us. If you have a question for Coach Chester, put it below. I'm going to put his Twitter and social media and email address on here so that you can contact him directly. Yes, Gardner Webb has camps. Yes, Gardner Webb has walk-ons. And yes, Coach Chester will answer your emails provided you are of age and he has the ability to respond to you, i.e. junior after August 1st, rising junior, etc. Those time parameters still withstanding. Thank you to everyone. I am deeply appreciative of your Sunday evening. If you feel this was of value and you feel that more of this should be, we should do more of the content like this, please retweet, please make mention on Twitter and on Instagram and on YouTube. I am going to do this full time. I am taking this to the next level, much to the delight of my wife, who is basically asking me if we're going to be okay. I feel we will be okay. Jimmy, I want to say thank you. Best of luck going forward with regard to recruiting. And for all parents, do yourself a favor. Go online, look up Gardner Webb baseball. I promise you, you will be a better human if you have the ability to be coached by Coach Chester. And oh, by the way, you'll also become a better baseball player. Jimmy, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Awesome time tonight. Thank you again. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Captain.